Hello everyone, and welcome to this Christmas special of the Project Moon Magic the Gathering series. Today, we're covering the jolliest of Project Moon media, Leviathan. It's time to bring love and Christmas cheer to all the lovely orphans. So without further ado, we start this collection with Virgilius, the Red Gaze. I was originally going to make him one card that transforms into his ego, but I decided it was better to split him into two cards instead. This version of him is rather simple. He has prowess, so he gets stronger when you cast non-creature spells, and he prevents your spells from being countered. When attacking, he intimidates weak creatures into being unable to block. Starting the story off, we have Tragic Destruction, which makes everyone replace a non-basic land with a waste token, sacrifice a creature, and then you can put stun counters on their new waste to slow them down. It also has flashback, but I'm down to remove that if it's unnecessary. With the arrival of the Purple Tier, who I am not committing a card to just yet, we get further orphan destruction with Drop a Building, which destroys all the weak little creatures as well as an artifact. If you decide you don't want it, you can cycle it to destroy just a small artifact instead. After conflict resolves and we have our tragic backstory set in place, we also have Bittersweet Memories, returning a non-creature card from your graveyard, then exiling the rest, allowing not only some recursion, but also the ability to purge your graveyard to prevent enemies from poking around in there. As we move into the bulk of the story, I'll need to introduce to you the Ring. Because of the Ring's nature as a bunch of prideful artists, they're not really meant to work together all too well, but they do have a few consistent gimmicks. First off is color. Ring members can be any color, and love casting spells with a bunch of colors. They also use treasure tokens to help pay for all that different mana. For Pointillists, specifically, I want them to focus on targeting with instants and sorceries, and maybe using counters as well, since counters tend to be visualized by circular pips. So, with all that in mind, Pointillist Student wants to kill enemy creatures with instants and sorceries, creating treasure tokens when you do. Student Savant wants you to cast multicolored spells, giving up to 3 benefits per turn. Both have prowess, so they get stronger when you cast non-creatures. Living Art prevents an enchanted creature from blocking, attacking, or using activated abilities not granted by this enchantment. Because it's such cheap removal, the controlling player can sacrifice it for a little extra mana. Time for one of Virgilius's allies to go on a drug trip across the multiverse. Shattering Self creates 3 copies of a creature you control, but they, and the original creature, will die at the end of your turn. My first plan with Mirror Tech was more to modify creatures into being like other creatures, but after seeing the Mirror Tech card that I made with that idea, you'll see why I'm pivoting to copies. Before that, we have an auction to attend. 10th's auction has each opponent lose life, and you gain life equal to all that life lost. If there's only one opponent, you gain twice as much life instead to account for the lack of extra opponents. As we're escorted into the corridors, we have Incendiary Flow, which is an actual MTG card reflavored by my viewer named A Goofy Little Guy. Now, Virgilius hands over his Gladius to Garnet, which makes equipped creatures put -1/-1 counters on anything they hit, combat damage or not, and gives them the effect commonly known as Fire Breathing, a way to pump red mana into extra power. Into the corridors themselves, they're a weird fetch land, being able to fetch any non-basic land, but only through a choice of 3 that your opponent picks from. This might be a bit complex for a fetch land, but I'll see it through to the playtests. Following Garnet on his journey, we come to Refraction, which, yeah, you can see why I pivoted from this idea. Your creature cards are exiled from your library, then the enchanted creature has bits and pieces from each creature exiled this way. It's a bit of a mess and keyword soup, but it's the only way I could think to portray this concept. Back to Virgilius beating up a Docent, we have Crushing Maw, which buffs a creature and makes it deal its power to another creature. Continuing further, we come into conflict with Gubo, who sacrifices his own creatures for more mana to cast non-creatures or activate abilities, such as his own ability, letting him or another artificer sneak by undetected. Let's see what Gubo tries to do when confronted by a color fixer. Oh, that's not what I thought he'd do. A desperate counter can counter a spell, but only if the target doesn't want to pay life. It's pretty useless most of the game, but late into the game, when a player tries to put down a big finisher, this may come in handy. Let's see how it works out for Gubo. Oh, nope. Well, points for trying, Gubo. Harrowing Interrogation is a classic reveal and discard spell, with the bonus that the target cannot then cast spells for the rest of the turn. It's time for the big bad to enter. Jumsoon is a 4-color legendary that focuses on targeting with multicolored instants and sorceries, dealing damage to creatures you target. As you cast spells with multiple colors, Jumsoon will get closer to his transformation. Jumsoon, Pointillism Perfected, targets both allies and enemies, buffing your creatures and debuffing your enemies. Now, it's time for our boy to power up. Virgilius, Mantled in Blood, creates blood tokens based on your dead creatures, then can cast instants and sorceries from your graveyard by spending blood instead of mana. He also has some pretty powerful keywords in First Strike, Prowess, and, if you have enough blood, Hexproof. It'll take some time for blood synergies to really pop off, but hopefully his ETB is enough to get him going for now. We end things off with the fan favorite, Schadenfreude? Oh, come on! Schadenfreude is true colorless and has the Spellkite effect of changing targets to itself, and when it does, it gains First Strike for the turn. Nothing too crazy. Well, if we're capping things off on an anticlimax, let me show you a card I wasn't quite happy with. Emergence of Sin is meant to be used to make a Pekatula deck, but I wasn't really feeling it. It can also be cycled to find a distortion of your choice, which is neat, but didn't really save the card. Okay, that's all for Leviathan. I'll probably revisit it in later batches, since there's really cool moments and art that I couldn't quite figure out mechanics for, but I don't think I'll do another dedicated video. For Kanto 4, it might come a bit later than expected, because I want to do some revisions to old mechanics and figure out ways to make this set more community-oriented. In any case, Merry Christmas to those who celebrate, I hope you're enjoying your holidays, and I'll see you very soon for a quick follow-up on my latest Distortion video. Until then, goodbye!